All right, everybody, welcome to the call. I am Heidi Juke, certified health coach with Optavia, and I'm really excited to have Chris Pettit on with me tonight. He's a certified health coach as well, and we're just going to share with you some helpful tips and hints to help you maintain your weight long term. So grab a piece of paper and a pen, and hopefully you can get some good golden nuggets to remember as you're going through, whether it's weight loss or you're just trying to maintain currently. These are some awesome tips and things. So this is me. My story is about 2.5 years ago, I had my third baby. That's him, Mr. Porter. And I was so excited that to have like a third boy, and it was really great. I was excited. However, I was like super struggling with the fact that none of my clothes fit anymore. And I started getting really depressed. I found myself really having a hard time managing twin boys that were 4 at the time and a brand new baby. Like I was just remember feeling really stressed out, and my weight was really like on my shoulders, mainly because I was a health coach before that, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I have to walk the walk and talk the talk. And so luckily, with the help of my coach, she helped me, and I was able to hop on what we call the Nursing Mothers program. And so I lost 40 pounds in 4 months, and I've kept it off for the last 2 years. So that's just a progress picture of me. And I think the biggest part about me being able to maintain it are a lot of these hints and stuff that we're going to go over tonight. And the biggest thing has been the healthy habits, and really trying to not just me like use it, but really try to encourage everyone around us. So this is Chris. He's going to tell his story.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Heidi. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing your story. That's pretty awesome. 40 pounds in 4 months is amazing, but the most amazing part about that is being able to maintain it. And that was honestly my biggest struggle. So when I graduated high school, I was 280 pounds, and I only got bigger. And so that guy on the left there, that's just kind of the guy I resigned myself to be forever.
Sorry, guys.
How dare you live life?
I know.
That's awesome. So I can tell you that I kind of resigned myself to being the big guy forever, just because I'd always been that big. 280 pounds to 300 pounds was kind of my MO. I'd lose 20 pounds, then I'd regain 20 pounds, and then I'd lose 20 pounds, and then regain 20 pounds. And I said, you know what? This is just who I am. Never had any health issues. I could always do everything I wanted to. I played football. I played basketball. I wasn't any good, but I was able to play them. And so I never really saw it as a risk. I didn't have diabetes or anything like that. And so I thought, oh, I'm fine. And then I had a pretty big awakening. I found out, my wife and I found out that she was pregnant with our son. And I said, you know what? It's time to turn this around, and I really need to do something long term. So I started working out. And as a lot of guys know, I know it's mostly gals on this land right now, but with a lot of guys, the trick to losing weight is working out, in case nobody knew that. That's also wrong, as I found out, because I worked out nonstop, like 6 days a week for 9 months, and I lost 20 pounds. And 20 pounds off that big guy on the left didn't look like anything. And I was depressed, and I didn't see any progress. So then the baby came, and I gained 20 plus 5. I gained 25 pounds in about 30 days. So I spent 9 months losing all that weight, and within 30 days I put it back on, just because I wasn't working out as much anymore, because babies are difficult. And so again, I was stuck in that depressed mode. I knew that I was never going to change. I was always just going to be a big guy. I just resigned myself to that. And then I stumbled on this program because of my cousin. I watched him lose 160 pounds in a year, and it totally changed his life. And more than anything, more than the weight loss, is how it impacted the way he lived. He was able to get on the ground and play with his kids. And I thought, okay, I want that. He was able to run around and keep up with them. He was able to, and this sounds like a big deal, but it sounds like a little deal, but he was able to stand up without huffing and puffing. And that was huge. That was something that really hit me. And I said, you know what? I want to make a change. So I hopped on the program. He coached me, and I was able to lose about 90 pounds in 5 months. But more importantly, more than the weight loss was what I gained. You know, my kids are watching me and watching the habits that I have now, and I know they're going to grow up knowing what healthy looks like. And they're not going to live with a lot of the struggles that I did when I was growing up, because this is the new normal for them. And that's really what our program's all about, is focusing on that lifestyle change so that you can have long-term success and not just a quick fix, not just a diet. That's really not what this is about. So that's what I love about our community here, Heidi.
Yes, I love that. Thanks for sharing, Chris. So just a little bit about our program. Our habits of health is kind of what we already discussed a little bit earlier, but that has been the key, and I know it has been for Chris as well. So I thought we would just take a couple seconds and just go over a couple of these just really quickly. So our healthy fuelings, using the healthy fuelings. So whether it's through our program, through Optavia, using the fuelings that we offer, which are macronutrients. They have the perfect amount of protein, carbs, and balance in each of the fuelings to continue in maintenance. Or you are prepping your own. And we'll discuss that a little bit more. And then, Chris, do you want to talk about motion and how that's helped you?
Absolutely. So honestly, I was, like I mentioned, I was working out for 9 months straight, and I was working out really, really, really hard. And I lost more weight and felt better when I just increased my walking each day. So I actually felt amazing just, walking around the block with my kids. Not only did it get us outside, but that extra activity really, it helps with your body, helps with your mind. It's amazing how motion, how moving around and being more active can lead to you having more energy. It sounds crazy, but it's pretty amazing how that happens. You just feel better.
Yeah, that's so true. And healthy sleep, this has been a big one for me. Like after I had my third little one, like I really struggled getting enough sleep, and I noticed it like totally affected my whole day if I didn't get enough sleep. So, it's encouraged in the Dr. A's Habits of Health to kind of set a schedule for yourself. So having a game plan, hey, I'm going to go to sleep at 10 o'clock, and these are the things you're going to do always. And it's recommended for women to have at least 6 hours. Guys, 7 hours is like the minimum. So if you're not getting that, find a way to get it in. Have that schedule. Stop watching TV and looking at your phone about an hour before bed too, because that'll kind of calm you down a little bit. That's been a common issue for me, is I tend to be like watching a show with my hubby or something. And so definitely turn that off, turn off your mind, maybe like even rub some like lavender oil on you just to kind of calm you down a little bit. I know that really has helped me a lot. Any other thoughts, Chris, you want to add?
But I love the idea of getting more sleep. Never really thought about it beforehand, but now I get tons of sleep, and I feel so bad because my wife is up with the baby all night long. So I know she can definitely reciprocate that. She can say that sleep is pretty important to that. So, and then I want to talk about the healthy support aspect too. Having yourself involved with some kind of community, if it's our community or another community, doesn't matter. As long as it's some kind of community that's going to help you move forward in health and just in general help keep you accountable, that's huge. What's amazing is if you tell people around you that you're looking to be healthier, and that, don't use the term diet, because when you tell people you're on a diet, the very first thing they do is, oh, here, you should try this. And we all have that. We all have friends like that, and that's okay. And it's because diets are temporary. Okay. Instead, in those situations, you want to tell people, look, I'm moving forward in my health. I'm making some changes, and I'd like your support in this. And 9 times out of 10, your friends and family, they're going to support you. And that's what I love about our community, our healthy community, is our health coaches and our clients are all here to help everyone move forward in health. We have weekly support calls, multiple calls like this. We have webinars. We have local meetups. Heidi and I actually have a group that we get together in the East Valley and go on hikes. And it's really nice to have that extra support. And especially at home too, you know, your spouse and your loved ones, you want to make sure that they're supporting you as well, because you are 10 times more likely to be successful with that extra support. And that's one of the things that I love about a community.
Yeah, that's so good. And then last but definitely not least is the mindset. You know, Chris mentioned this when he was sharing his story, is that his mindset totally changed. And that's a common thread I find with a lot of clients, but as well as myself, is that really knowing that when I first started my journey about 5 years ago as a health coach, you know, your destination is not necessarily when you get to that goal weight. It's a whole journey, and we're all on different journeys. We all have different goals. And so really making sure that you get out of that diet mentality, oh, I can't wait till X, Y, and Z, but really changing that mindset and knowing that you can choose to eat anything. It's just, is that going to help you maintain your goal and keep that goal that you set for yourself? So talking about your current habits. And so, you know, these are just some very, you know, basic habits that we just talked about. And so we won't go over them too much, but thinking about how are you coming to your day every day? Are you waking up and really, you know, if you're on one of our programs, are you really coming and trying to really learn about the importance of water, the importance of movement, activity, sleep, support? Are you really making sure you're fueling your body enough? Because those are things that you're going to want to do even after you get to your goal weight. And so remembering that's an important aspect of this as well. And then stress management. This is a big one for me that I've noticed has been a huge help for me. So I'm a super high stress person just in general. I've always kind of been that way. And like when I became a health coach about 5 years ago, one thing that I was really excited about was to learn how to manage my stress better. And so one of the things I do when I'm super stressed out is I go for a jog. Sometimes I will go outside and play with my kids, just finding that thing that helps me get out of the kitchen, whereas normally I would have eaten or ate when I was bored. So definitely finding ways to manage that stress. I feel like that's a common thing, especially this time of year. Also managing your time a little bit better can make a huge difference with stress. If you're stressed out about Christmas already, maybe start game planning your Christmas gifts and stuff early on so you don't have to stress out at the end. Any other ideas or thoughts, Chris, you want to add?
Well, actually, I don't know if it's in the later slides, but I want to talk about one of the big things that we focus on with stress management is our stop, challenge, choose mentality, because that is something that has saved me so many times. And Stop, Challenge, Choose is actually, if we have an ebook we can send you guys. So just talk to the person who invited you, and we can go ahead and get that ebook to you. It's a free ebook. But it's really about looking at each situation, and this applies to anything in life, not just food, not just eating healthy. It really applies to everything, and it's stop, challenge, and choose. Basically, if you're in a situation, I'm going to use food as an example, and let's say Halloween happens, and you really want that Reese's peanut butter cup. Go ahead and stop. Challenge yourself before you eat that. Ask yourself, is this going to serve my goals? Is this something that is going to further my health goals, or is this going to derail them? Or in certain situations, it might be okay to do that. For instance, let's say your kid has a birthday party. Your child may only turn one once, obviously, and so it's important to you to be a part of that. It's important to you to have a slice of cake with them, or a cupcake, or whatever said item is. Go ahead and do that, but challenge yourself. Now, if the answer to that is, well, it's Tuesday, and I really like chocolate, then you probably should not choose to have that chocolate just because it's a day ending in Y. Instead, you should challenge yourself and really make a choice. But the biggest thing with that is with every aspect of this is you're choosing instead of just mindlessly doing it. And by making that choice, you're removing the guilt, you're removing the regret, you're removing the remorse, and you're back on track. And that's the biggest thing is we want to make sure again, getting out of that diet mentality. When you're stuck in that diet mentality, you see that as cheating, and there's no cheats in life, only choices. So just focus on that. The stop, challenge, choose mentality is fantastic, and that's one of the things that's really helped me with stress management as well, Heidi.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks for bringing that up, Chris. That's awesome. All right. So thinking about what you're focused on, and it says in really, really bright red letters, danger, the number on the scale, your goal, I made it. And so now I'm going to go back to my old ways. How many times have you been that person that, oh my gosh, I totally hit my goal. Now I'm going to go have a cheeseburger and some fries, and oh my gosh, totally, right? Totally been there, right, Chris? All y'all that are on there. So thinking about that this is really a lifestyle change, that these healthy habits that we as health coaches are teaching you, this is something you want to continue on even past your goal weight, right? Also thinking about who is benefiting, who else in your life is benefiting from it. So like with Chris, when he was telling his story, his family, his kids are benefiting from him being a healthy person, right? For me, the same thing. My kids are benefiting from it. And then thinking about what and why what you're really focusing on. So why am I making these lifestyle changes? What is that going to do for me and my family and my loved ones? And then if you start noticing that you're getting into that diet mentality, really think about making that change. Link up with your coach or find an accountability buddy and really help kind of switch that mindset a little bit. And so I know, Chris, you wanted to add a couple things too, right?
Absolutely. So, really becoming a healthier person. So I want to talk about that first thing where it says eating cleaner, moving, stress less, sleep. Do you think any of those things, if you choose to do them, will have an impact on people around you? I mean, the answer is yes, they absolutely will. Last night, I was posting something on Facebook earlier today. Last night, we made pizza. Now, we made healthy pizza. We made pizza made out of spaghetti squash and in little cupcake tins, and it was fun, and I got my kids involved. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you and say my kids are perfect. I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, so every dinner is a battle. I mean, it's like going to war. It's brutal, but there's less fighting because they get involved in helping to cook those healthier items. They're growing up and knowing what that healthy item looks like. And last night, probably one of my proudest moments as a parent is that after we made the little pizzas, the kids ate them. And that was huge. They absolutely loved it. And they wanted to eat healthier because they saw us eating healthier. They saw that we wanted to eat healthier. And it's just amazing how this little mindset.
Yeah, that's huge. That is really cool. That, I love that idea, especially those of you that have kids that are on this call. Like, that's a great way to help and teach your kids what you're learning. Because you think about it, who learns more, the teacher or the student? The teacher does, right? So be teaching your kids what you're learning. I love that. Thanks, Chris. So this is in Dr. A's Habits of Health, Chapter 8. And this just shows our glucose levels and insulin response. So looking at okay, so this could be a typical meal of any person, right? So you wake up and you're like, okay, I'm going to have some orange juice. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm starving. Because what happens when you have orange juice? What does it have in it? Like pure sugar, right? Pretty much a lot of sugar. So your blood insulin levels go up, right? And then you have a bagel, so your blood insulin goes down, and then you get hungry again. You're super feeling slumpy, so you have your hamburger and soft drink, so it goes back up really quick. Then you have a candy bar, because who has time to make 6 meals a day, right? And then you're so starving because the candy bar is pretty much all sugar again. So by 5 o'clock, you're feeling super tired, and you want to eat the cupboard and everything in it, because your blood glucose levels are so low and your insulin levels are so low. And so you end up eating a huge meal at night. And so this is the path that we want to stay clear of. So let's kind of talk about a couple things with that. So, and then I'm going to have you help me out here in just a second, Chris. So thinking about how time can really make a difference. So there was, I love this study. There was a study done by David Jenkins, and he took two groups of people, and each of them had the same amount of calories, the same foods were eaten, but one group ate the traditional 3 meals a day, and the other group ate 6 small meals a day. So who do you think lost the most weight? Like, I mean, we all know, as you know, looking at it, but like, I probably would have thought that the people that ate 3 times a day would have, back in the day before I became a health coach and realized the importance of eating 6 times a day. But if you look up at your screen, look at the ones that ate 6 times a day, lost more weight, had less hunger, reduced their cholesterol, reduced their blood insulin level by 28%. So that's like a big thing. So if you notice down on the bottom, you can see the table, and it shows we want to keep that blood insulin nice and even. That's why like diabetics on our program do so well. And a lot of them, if they're type 2 diabetics, they're able to get completely off of their medication, because what's happening is you're fueling your body with the correct amount of proteins and carbs every 2 to 3 hours, and keeping that blood insulin level and nice and even, instead of up and down like the picture I showed before. Chris, do you have something you wanted to add to that as well?
Yeah, actually a couple things. One is, so let's talk about type 2 diabetes. Up until, I want to say it was the 90s, it wasn't called type 2 diabetes. It was called adult onset diabetes. They had to change the name because children as young as 5 or 6 years old, and now I think the number last I looked was children as young as 3 or 4 are becoming diabetic. And type 1 diabetes is very different than type 2 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes, they're insulin dependent. That's something that it's genetic, unfortunately. Type 2 diabetes can be reversed, or at least the medications can be greatly reduced if someone fixes their diet. And that's the biggest thing with that is it's all about how you feel your body. If you go back one slide, Heidi, I want to talk about a visual for a second. So that glucose insulin response curve right there. So that was basically my day. Only I usually had 2 hamburgers. So, but anyway, so I was hungry. I needed to fuel my body. But what's crazy is, think of it like this: if you had a 10-gallon tank of gas, would you put 20 gallons of fuel in it? Would you? Would you, Heidi? Would you put 20 gallons in a 10-gallon tank?
No, it would overflow. No.
Exactly, it would overflow, and that's what happens when we overeat. That's what happens when we eat more than our body really needs. And unfortunately, it doesn't overflow and we vomit. No, it overflows and turns into fat. Exactly. So it turns into fat, and so that's how a lot of the fat happens. And honestly, a lot of times it's just because it's convenient. I mean, all of those items, orange juice, bagel, hamburger, candy bar, all of those are very quick and easy. And it really are, we live in a society of convenience now. And every single time we open the fridge, every single time we drive through that drive-through, we're going to bag some food. Very, very easy. And so it becomes very easy to overeat, very easy to satiate ourselves, when really we don't need that much. You really don't need a ton. And so that's what I love about our program, is it's so convenient. And in general, it teaches you so much about how to fuel your body the proper way, so that then once you move off of our program, you're still maintaining. And that's really what our big focus is on maintaining that health and not yo-yoing back into old habits. So
that is so good. Thank you. Yes. So I did when you were talking about the car, it made me think about, when you're on a road trip, you're stopping every 3 hours. And what are you doing? You're usually going potty, you're fueling your tank, and you're fueling yourself. It's the same concept with this, with eating 6 times a day, and you have to fuel your tank when you're on your road trip. It's the same with that, with our bodies. So, I love this slide. So what's after weight loss? I love this. So in chapter 9, it talks a little bit about this. And so thinking about your plate, and some of y'all might have some huge plates like I have. I have like a 12-inch plate. But you want to be thinking about an 8, is it 6? I get all confused every time I do this. Remind me, Chris.
You want to think about a 9-inch dinner plate.
9-inch plate.
9-inch dinner plate.
Thank you. Sorry, it says right there. I'm sorry, guys. Just pretend I know what I'm talking about. Anyways, 9-inch plate, and you're going to divide it into thirds, so kind of like a little peace sign. So 50% of that is going to be your vegetables and your fruit. Now, this is what I want you to think about, is that you want to think about when you do have that 50% of vegetables and fruit, is that fruit is awesome and such a great option. However, it does, fruit does have fructose, which turns into sugar, which turns into fat. And so remembering to have very little of that, like I would say less than 25% up there. You don't need to have a ton, and fuel your body more with those healthier, awesome veggies, and then 25% of your protein and 25% of your starches or carbohydrates. Now, I will mention in your starches and carbohydrates, something I would make you aware of, those of you that are, into maintenance or close to, is that, the starchy veggie or starchy carbs, you can also put in there your starchy veggies. So your potatoes, your edamame, your Brussels sprouts, corn, peas, carrots, because those are a little bit more carby and they have a lot higher sugars usually. And so just keep in mind when you're thinking about that plate, try to cut it up that way. And then the other thing I just wanted to mention is the importance of when you're dining out, to be super mindful, because I find a lot of time when I go to restaurants, is that I go and and they serve you a huge plate, right? And it could serve like 5 other people, not just you. And what do we normally do when we get that plate? It's like we like clean the plate up, right? That's totally me. So I was raised with like, you clean up your plate, period. So what I would really like to encourage you to do is, like, when you get your food, ask the waiter or waitress for a doggy bag and just put half in it for later, because what that's going to do is it's going to help you not overeat, like Chris said, with the overfueling. You don't want to overdo it, but then you're going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You're going to have 2 meals for the price of 1, which is always nice. Some other thoughts or ideas you want to add to that, Chris?
Yeah, so for a visual, so a lot of times the cardboard plates you can get from the store, or even the little kids' plates, you notice they have a similar design to this?
Yes, they do.
There's some method to that madness. So the easiest way to think about it visually, let's say you don't have a 9-inch plate. Size-wise, you're looking at your starches are going to be about the size of a tennis ball, so like a small potato or maybe a small piece of bread. Your vegetables and fruits, taking up 50% of the plate, is about the size of a thick paperback book, okay? And then your proteins, 3 ounces of protein is about the size of a deck of cards. And so if you put 2 decks of cards together, then that's about the size of protein that you're looking for. That's, your tofu, your eggs, or your steak, your pork, whatever it is. And obviously if it's a leaner meat, you can definitely have more of that. But it becomes really easy to notice that when you're out and about. So even I have so many clients that worry when they go out. They're like, well, I'm going to go out to dinner. What am I going to have? You can get a lean and green. You can get something similar to this anywhere you go, anywhere. It's just a matter of choosing to do that and just being more mindful of what it is you're putting in your body. Like Heidi said, put half your stuff in the doggy bag. That's the best way to do it, because if it's there on the plate, you're going to want to finish it. I know I did. So
Yeah. I love that. That's some really good ideas. Okay, so thinking about what's after weight loss. So obviously, our Take Shape for Life and Optavia Fuelings are incredible. I still use them to maintain 2.5 years later. They're awesome. I love them because I don't have to think about it, and I'm no less busier now than I was 2 years ago when I lost the weight. But these are some awesome examples of protein ideas and carb ideas. So like, it's just like grade school. You can, match whichever ones. Either one is fine. There's no wrong answer. So like some of my favorites is I love cottage cheese with an apple, and I cut up the apple and then I add a little bit of cinnamon to it. It's super yummy. What are some of your favorites, Chris, besides the feelings?
Definitely, I'm a huge fan of Triscuits and sliced up cheese. So like the Monterey Jack cheese.
Yeah, that's a great go-to.
That's my new drug, so to speak. So that's my go-to. I got to be careful and mindful of how much I eat, because I could take down an entire box if I'm not careful. But yeah, these are great examples, and I still use the fuelings as well. And it's nice because they are super convenient, especially with us dealing with all the kids. I mean, kids take up a lot of your time, and I know when I was doing meal prep a couple years ago, and I was spending 3 or 4 hours doing meal prep on a Sunday, usually by Tuesday or Wednesday, I was bored with whatever meals I prepped. And for me, that was when I would choose to go to Taco Bell, or I'd choose to go to Wendy's, or that's when I would make those poor choices because I was just bored. And so have some fun with it. Find something that you like. And a lot of times, what we can do, Heidi, too, is we can post with this video the list of the options. I don't know if you've seen that graphic that shows, hey, if I'm craving something salty, this is what you should eat that's healthy. I'm craving something sweet, this is what you should eat that's healthy. There's some great graphics out there on Pinterest and a few other places that are phenomenal, because they actually tell you, what kinds of things you can have and still maintain that healthy living.
Yeah. And there are some staples, like even now in maintenance, that I still have always, like in my fridge. Like today I went grocery shopping, and I always get Dannon Light and Fit Greek yogurt. And I love the strawberry cheesecake. It is so good. So I'm just saying, like, it's the same thing as like when you're planning for, like, let's say you're training for a marathon, right? You're training for a marathon. Well, you can't just all of a sudden go out and run a marathon. Most people can't do that. So it's like that quote, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. It's the same thing with this in maintenance. If you're not planning ahead, and if you guys don't have those staples or those things that you can grab that you love, you're going to find yourself going back to those old habits of going through the drive-thru and making not the best choices. So just keep that in mind. And then the other thing, just wanted to add real quick, is veggies and fruit. I try to cut up as many of those that I can that will stay good after I buy them, because I notice that when they're in like little bags ready to go, they're a lot easier to grab. Okay, so I'm going to actually have you talk about this one, Chris.
Okay, so you're going to have the colorblind guy talk about which color green, which color red are good and bad. This will be fun. So this is the glycemic index. So the glycemic index it really shows how quickly food translates into your blood sugar. And that's important to know, because a lot of times we think we might be eating healthier, and really we're not. Like, for instance, I'd like to point this out. So carrots raw have a glycemic index of 30, right? Boiled carrots, so cooked carrots like we put in our roast, they're so mushy and so tasty, the glycemic index shoots up to 80. What's table sugar? I think it's 68, right, Heidi?
60.
So if table sugar, a spoonful of table sugar is a glycemic index of 68, and boiled carrots or mushy carrots are glycemic index of 80, that means they're worse for you than eating sugar straight up. So that's important to remember. When you're cooking your vegetables, don't overcook them. You want al dente as much as you possibly can, because those fibers and everything else, the nutrients, break down too much, and you're not really getting all that you need from that food. And the mushier it is, obviously the tastier it is, and the more quickly it turns into sugar and then turns into fat. So just keep that in mind. Same thing with fruits. And I mean, fruits, a great example, like watermelon. 76. That's insane. That's insane how high that is. And I mean, that's almost as high as carrots. That's more than table sugar. And again, some of these things we just aren't aware of. So, and now obviously if you're on our program, you want to make sure you're avoiding these as much as possible, and you're sticking with the lower glycemic items. But just in general, throughout all of your day, when you're in maintenance, you want to make sure that you're paying attention to this so that you're not overdoing it. Because it becomes very, very easy to have a giant bowl of grapes when really maybe you only need a couple of those, and maybe have some blackberries, maybe have some grapefruit or some avocado.
Yeah. And Dr. A always says, stay in the green and stay lean. So, just keep that in mind. Obviously, if you enjoy having bananas, great, awesome. But also make sure you're being aware of how much you're having of those things as well. So thinking about your long-term success and what you really, really want, just going to go through this. So as you're getting into maintenance and getting closer, or maybe you're already in maintenance, making sure that you don't just fall off the face of the earth and never talk to your health coach again. So making sure to check in with them once a month, just letting them know, hey, Chris, I am doing so good. I'm maintaining. I'm feeling great. Or Chris, oh my gosh, the scale's going up. I need your help. Can you help me and guide me a little bit more with maintenance? There's nothing wrong with reaching out for help. That's what we love doing, and we want to help you maintain that weight. Otherwise, this is just a quote-unquote diet, right? Which kind of leads to the next point, is that, really if you do think of this as a diet, you're going to gain the weight back plus more. That's just how it is. Anyone can diet, but if you don't change your habits and make this a lifestyle change, you're gonna gain it back. And so really thinking about, okay, I'm going to continue eating 6 times a day, but what am I going to be eating? And having that game plan. If you don't know what to be having, reach out to the person that invited you and make sure that you guys have a game plan together. And then really utilizing Dr. A's Habits of Health book. That's been a big one for me. Like, I have it and I keep it by me and I have it marked up. And I love that I can refer to it. Let's say I'm looking at a different exercise and I want to see what they do and how they use it so that I can help and kind of guide my clients. So there's some really awesome stuff in there, as well as into like ideas for meal plans and stuff. And then, the big thing that I love is thinking about stepping up and paying it forward and helping those around you. I'm sure that you all can relate, that people are noticing around you and they're asking you, oh my gosh, Chris, what in the heck are you doing? I can't believe you look so good. I want to know what you're doing. And so, obviously, you can always refer to your coach, but, which is a great compliment for us, and we love to help them. But, the biggest thing that I can say, 5 years ago when I became a health coach, it was the best decision I made. And not so much for like weight loss insurance, although that is a great reason, but financially, it has blessed our family's lives so much. I always say I'm a nap time health coach. I work when my baby, who's now 2.5, takes his 3-hour nap. And the rest of the time I can be present and be a full-time mom. And so it's been a huge blessing financially, and we get paid really great to help our clients be successful. So if you've ever considered that, you may want to reach out to the coach that invited you. Chris, I know you had some things you wanted to add.
Absolutely. And that's actually part of why I became a coach. Is I had no interest in the financial piece. I wanted to be able to hold myself more accountable. Because I discovered something early on. Chris is Chris's worst accountability partner. Chris really likes Dairy Queen Blizzards, and Chris is really good at convincing Chris that he needs those Dairy Queen Blizzards. So that's why it's really important to have that accountability partner and to, have a real honest conversation with yourself. And I called Chris a jerk, and I moved on. And I can tell you that in general, being able to pay this forward to someone else really helps to keep you accountable. Not only that, but you're able to watch all of these amazing things happen to everyone around you. I have a client of mine I was talking to earlier today who was talking to me about her grandson, how he dropped something on the ground and she bent over and picked it up. And her 4-year-old grandson looked at her and said, "Grandma, what'd you do?" And she's like, "I picked it up." He's like, "You've never done that before. Does that mean we can get on the ground and play now?" And she had me in tears. She'd never been able to get on the ground before and play with her 4-year-old grandson. So that was life-changing. And to be able to have those conversations daily with numerous people is just, it's so rewarding. All the financial stuff aside, that alone would make it worth this. And coaching has absolutely changed my family's dynamic, not just financially, but stress-wise too, which has been a great blessing.
Yeah.
So, and if you have questions on that, talk to the person who invited you and really explore that. And I can tell you, I would never consider stepping back. Heidi, 5 years ago, had you not become a coach, I want to ask you something. After you had Porter, after you had your baby, would you have been able to get healthier right away?
No, not as fast as I did.
Exactly. So life-changing. Love it.
Well, thanks everybody for hopping on. You guys are awesome. Chris, you're awesome. Thanks for your help and helping me out tonight. And you guys, thanks for hopping on and taking time away from your families and everything. And hope you have a wonderful night, and reach out to the person that invited you to this and start game planning what your what the next step is into maintenance and so on. Thanks, you guys.